Hello, and welcome to episode 196 of Prog Review. And today I'm talking about Pink Floyd's Animals. I'm not going to bother showing you the artwork because you know what it looks like. You should know what it looks like. Many of you have been bleating about this one, so I thought I'd talk about it. It's the band's 10th studio album, released 23rd January 1977. I would have been 6 years old. Iconic for the Hypnosis cover with Battersea Power Station, Algie the pig flying over. Now again, for those of you outside of the UK, a flying pig represents something that's very rare, that's something that's not going to happen. We say, and pigs might fly. For example, this is going to be a great prog review, and pigs might fly. You get it? That's what that's alluding to. It's alluding to a very old saying, and there's lots of old sayings that that can be attributed to this, this record. Dog eat dog world. For the dogs section. The whole idea of pigs are policemen. Pigs can be people that are rude. Lots of different allusions in the language, and it is indeed a scathing commentary on Britain in 1970s, apparently. Though, listening back to it, I don't know, some of its power's worn off. Indeed. Again, this is one of those albums that when I was about 13, 14, 15 was very powerful. Because again, it deals with a lot of those feelings that you have when you're that age of alienation, feeling that you're on the outside of something. But when you're 42, fat, with a family, just trying to figure out how the world works, this becomes less relevant. It becomes less relevant. And it's got more to do with the paranoia and the alienation of the band than anything else. Roger Waters, Dave Gilmour, Richard Wright, Nick Mason. Big success after Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here. This is where the cracks are showing. The cracks are indeed showing. And again, with this record, this could be seen as the decline of the band before they all went their separate ways. Roger Waters taking more control over the material, more credit on the record, etc. It starts off with I don't know if you call it a ballad, an acoustic ballad, Pigs on the Wing. Again, it's a nice little thing. Yeah, just a throwaway song, really. Wistful, and the whole album is bookended by the two parts of this song, and it's a very, like I say, very wistful thing, and it's very, very different in tone to what comes in between. It's bittersweet, so then that leads into the opening track, Dogs, which is about 17 minutes long. Now this one, when I was a young man, I used to play guitar along to it because there's lots of guitar, lots of Dave Gilmour on it, and again it owes a lot to the themes that were thrown up with Wish You Were Here. Businessmen, shaking hands but having a dagger behind their back. And it's about, again, the dog eat dog world. Though again, it's great when you're a teenager and you think the entire world's against you, and then when you get older you realise that the world doesn't care. And so again, I've listened to it back again. It made me feel very nostalgic, but it's a bit like what I said about the war. I didn't feel as connected to it. It also does go on a bit, doesn't it, really? I had the feeling it could have been wrapped up a bit quicker, but I do enjoy Dave Gilmour's guitar in it. Don't enjoy so much Roger Waters singing, because again, he's forcing himself on the record, and his style of singing becomes almost cliche as the thing goes on. But it's it's. I think it's better for Gilmour's guitar work than anything else. And I like the way that the acoustic guitars are syncopated, because you have like two guitars, ding 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 ding, and there's a lot of double tracking of the guitars. When you listen to it on stereo, it's really kind of interesting. There's not a lot to it. It's not as detailed as what we'd heard on Wish You Were Here. It's quite stripped back, almost a punk album. One could say a punk song. Sorry, because you have these bare guitars, and that. One criticism over the album is Nick Mason's drums. It sounds like he's playing on biscuit tins at the time rather than drum kit, and there's lots of fills that sound a bit repetitive. But no, I like it for Gilmour's work, and but I get the feeling it doesn't really go anywhere. So then we move on to the B-side. If we return over Pigs, 3 different ones, notable for its scathing attack on Mary Whitehouse. Again, for those of you who are not in the UK, who don't understand who Mary Whitehouse is, she was somebody that was very against. She was very for morality. She founded the National Viewers Association or something. I probably got that wrong. Probably said that wrong. Back in the 1960s, she was a campaigner for cleaning up television and always saying that there was all this sex on television. But I could never find it. Again, I think she was misunderstood at the time. I think she had I think she was just trying to stop, some of this moral malaise from engulfing us. I'm not saying she was necessarily right. Some of the things she did were a bit dubious, but I think she thought she was doing the right thing, and that's no reason. It's no reason necessarily to write a song about her and actually name her in the song. I think that's a bit childish, really. Again, one issue I have with Waters' lyrics is they are very sixth form. You do feel that this is somebody who hasn't matured, who's stuck. He's stuck in a very male teenage world. Again, probably because he got success very early on, and there's no real depth to what he's saying. I know that you're taking your shoes off and you're throwing them at the screen, but when you do live a life, you compare what he writes here to what appears on like Amused to Death. Amused to Death has more depth to it than these lyrics. Again, the writer has grown. Again, I think he was surrounded with his success and the trappings of his success, and that's why, again, I find these lyrics rather shallow and conceited. So yeah, Pigs, it's all right. It's not my favourite track of the album. My favourite track of the album happens to be Sheep, and again, it opens, very pastoral, sounds of the pasture buzzing, and some great keyboard work that comes in. And again, it's based on, I can't remember which psalm it is now. Lord is my shepherd, that psalm. Do you remember that? It's based on that, but with a humorous slant. Again, another theme that's running through this is George Orwell's Animal Farm. All animals being equal, some more equal than others. And so we have that thread woven through the general concept too. I really like Sheep. I think it again, as a piece of music, it actually goes somewhere, and we get to that crescendo of the guitars. Ding, 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 ding. I feel like I've arrived somewhere. It feels fully formed, whereas some of the other ideas, you feel that you're just kind of floating through. I'm being very, very critical, but hear me out. So Sheep, I think, is probably the most formed piece on the record, the one that works the best. I always find it strange that the band never really goes back. They never revisit any of this. I don't think even Roger Waters does in the live context. They never played any of these songs on their tours, and that, not one song. Yet all the other albums were touched upon. But Animals is a bit like the odd one out. Really, it's a bit like the Ugly Kid, and I wonder why that is. I mean, it's not. It's a bad record. I secretly do really like it, but you know, if I sit there and analyse it, it doesn't feel as right. You know, the head and the heart, head versus the heart. Heart likes it a lot. Head thinks it could be better. And then again, the album's rounded off with Pigs on the Wing Part 2, or 2 if you're from English-speaking countries, and again, it's just wrapped up. Apparently, there is a version. They did a complete version of it with Snowy White, but I don't know. I mean, Snowy White's supposed to play the solo in it or something, but I've not heard that. I don't know if it's out there somewhere. Someone will probably say it is in the comments and make me look an idiot, but I don't give two tits. So anyway, so that's it really. I mean, Animals. It's it shows a change. Again, it's a very different album to Wish You Were Here, because again, very stripped back, very stripped back from the pomposity of what you get. I mean, that is a very produced album, and this almost feels underproduced in comparison. And it kind of acts as a strange buffer between Wish You Were Here and The Wall. Again, it's a band that's in transition. Again, you listen to The Wall after listening to Animals, and they don't really sound like the same band. You know, it sounds different, mainly because they're not doing 17-minute epics. They're doing very nice little self-contained short songs. I think they got obsessed with doing these 17-minute, long songs, and I think really the Floyd should have been compressing it somewhat. Again, the roots of the album go back to I think 1974. I mean, Raving and Drooling and You've Got to Be Crazy were played on the Wish You Were Here tour, I believe, and it took them a long time to knock those songs into shape, So yeah, I mean, I like the album cover. It's iconic. I'm going to give it a 5 algaes out of 5. That's 5 algaes out of 5, because it's a Pink Floyd album. But going back to it made me think that it's funny how you get old, isn't it, and things change. This is another thing about doing this series is, I go back to albums I really used to love, real fondness to it, and you listen to it and think, what a load of old fanny. Some of that stuff, you just think, I don't know, it doesn't relate to me now. But, I can imagine it relates to a lot of you. But, yeah, good stuff. And that's it. My name's Darren Locke. I've been whittering on pointlessly about Animals by that there Pink Floyd. Thank you for tuning in. Like this video, favourite it, subscribe, Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus. You know the routine. We've been doing this long enough. And with that, I will say one more thing, and one more thing only, and that is prog on.